Up next is what I get the gist is considered to be one of the hardest levels of the game. I'd always found it very difficult myself when I was younger, so I'm glad that my feelings of this were confirmed by a bunch of you guys here on YouTube and on Facebook who said they'd also had trouble with it. Plot-wise, M explains that the data chip that Bond picked up in Romania contains data on something called Poseidon, which M assumes to be a cloning laboratory, which is located on the Cyclops oil rig in the South China Sea. So Bond is of course sent to investigate, but not before R equips you with a friggin' jetpack. Now, as an 11-year-old boy, jetpacks were just about the coolest thing imaginable, and they really do add a huge amount of fun to this game, especially in multiplayer. This level might be one of the hardest, but boy is it fun to play. The level has so much in it that makes for a really fun experience. The jetpack, the grapple, using the Q remote to get the drop on the snipers, it's just awesome.
I think I'll get the drop on him.
The level ends with Bond reaching the pinnacle of the rig to find... Oh, do we have our Bond girl finally?
Nice fall.
Yeah, no, I really thought Bond was going to get with that one. Ah! That might have seemed like a bit of a long fall for anyone to survive, but let's remember how Bond fell from that bridge in Skyfall.
Your precipitous leap with Block has landed you in the transport system of Poseidon's secret underwater base 007.
Precipitous? Dictionary.com...
I'll take it from here.
Ah! A woman! Is this our Bond girl? Oh, nope, another one gone. Forbidden Depths is the final on-rails shooting level of the game, involving chasing Block on these weird transport thingies around Malprave's underwater base, which makes for some pretty scenery and is a nice little Easter egg. Keep an eye on the bulletin screens for amusing things that you kind of have to pause the game to see properly. Something that I love a lot about the on-rails bits of this game is that, well, on-rails shooting can be a bit tedious in other games, and here it's wonderful. There's plenty of things to do and shoot at other than just baddies. You have to shoot things to open doors, you shoot things to get 007 moments. It's really, really well thought out, I think. The level culminates in a large chamber and is something of a showdown with Nitro Block. Not entirely sure what this machine at the end of the level is being used for, or why there's lava underneath the floor, but hey, it's a video game, what are you gonna do? Anyway, after using a guided rocket launch to blow up whatever the hell that thing is, Block falls to his death in the pool of magma below as Bond exits through a vent, and it's on to the next level of the game, Poseidon, which once again features some lovely scenery. That shark's pretty impressive, actually. I wonder what... Wait a minute, what the floor? What? Super thugs, please don't run at me, please don't run at me, please don't run at me, please don't run at me. Poseidon is yet another fun level to play through, and the design of Malprave's base certainly harkens back to the classic Bond layers of the Connery and Moore eras, which is something I'm all for in a video game. The main objective of the level is to destroy the clone laboratory with the good old Q remote to prevent any more replicants being made. The level also has one very distinctive feature to it, and that feature is that the ending of the level changes depending on whether or not you pick up this card, which contains a verification code, which comes in handy when you get to the submarine and find... Zoe! Alive and well, apparently. She explains that Zoe that was rescued in the first level was actually a clone meant to infiltrate the CIA and was killed by accident by the Jackal, which sure makes the Jackal sound like a pretty bad hit woman if she balls it up that bad, but whatever. This explanation doesn't really clarify why the bad guys would leave the real Zoe imprisoned in an unlocked submarine. Like, surely she'd be better just out of the way entirely? I don't know. I think it would have been cool if when you were playing through the Poseidon level you heard guards on speakers or whatever talking about an escaped prisoner or something to hint that there was another rogue person in the base who escaped captivity perhaps. And so, it's set up for later on when we meet her alive and well at the end of the level, like maybe she was trying to escape too. But oh well. Oh hey, Bond finally gets some action in this game, or at least in one version he does. If you pick up the code, Bond bangs Zoe. If you don't pick up the code, Bond's balls remain full and the pair just get gassed and wake up in jail. Oh yeah, by the way, the ending of the Poseidon level actually affects where you begin the next level, which is super, super cool. The main thing that I love about this feature is that they really don't signpost it or make a big deal out of it at all. It was only by complete accident that I even discovered that there was an alternate ending to the level when I forgot to pick up the code one day. To saying I'd been playing through this game for years beforehand and then suddenly I was seeing stuff I'd never seen before was quite shocking, to say the least. There are multiple ways of going about the next level, which is a feature that I really like. I like the option of doing things differently. You can either take the stealthy approach, or you can go in and shoot everyone up like a madman. A madman, I tell you! Whereas if you did pick up the code, you begin the Mediterranean crisis level at the... Wait a minute, what? We were in the South China Sea at the last level, and now we're in the Mediterranean? Why, that would take ages! What could Bond and Zoe possibly do on a submarine alone together for that long a Oh, I get it. Yes. So, the main objective of this level is to investigate a Royal Navy aircraft carrier, where it turns out 8 world leaders have been cloned and are going to be replaced by these clones, so that Malprave can take over the world! This is another great level with a few nice one-liners from Bond.
Looks like toast.
Safety first, lads.
Thank God you're here. They've armed a warhead. I can disarm it if you cut this chain.
Under different circumstances, I'd think twice about this.
Oh hey, a Bond girl!
They got your American friend. Some rough-looking chaps are holding her below in the depth charge bay. I'll open a door to the landing so you can get a better look.
Or not. Seriously, is Zoe going to be the only woman Bond sleeps with in this game? At the end of the level, the helicopter carrying the clones is destroyed and Zoe appears with a jet to take Bond to rescue the real world leaders who are being held at Malprave's base in the Swiss Alps. So here we go, the last level of the game, Evil Summit. After the usual briefing from M&R highlighting what's at stake and such, we begin with Zoe dropping Bond off at Malprave's base. As in, using the actual landing strip of the base and everything. Not very stealthy, especially when there are a bunch of snipers just there, but no alarm is raised, so I guess we can assume that Malprave got her workforce from the Institute of the Deaf and Blind Goons. I love how accurate the P2K is in this game. I mean, you can take out those guys with snipers from this distance with a couple of bullets. Who needs a damn sniper when you're this thing? After a bit of shooting and zip wiring... What the hell is Bond using to hold onto this zip line? It's into the base. This is one of my favourite moments of the game, by the way, getting onto this platform and all the bad guys come swarming beneath and... Oh, there's something so satisfying about that. Anyway, that move saves you 4 world leaders. Woohoo! And then it's on to save the leaders of France, Germany, the UK, and the USA, in that order. In that order, eh? Do you think they meant that as some kind of order of importance? Or am I reading too much into this? Like, you'd think with Bond being British, the UK Prime Minister would be the big finish, but I guess America's just too darn important. Or at least it was. Maybe if this game was made today, it'd be the Chinese president who would have to be saved last. Anyway, I'm probably reading far too much into this. Evil Summit is a terrific final level. The stakes are as high as they get for this game. There's opportunities to use every single gadget you've used so far. There's plenty of weapons, close combat, sniping, lots of variety. It's really terrific.
Congratulations, Mr. Bond. You've scored a few victories, but it's not over yet. I've set the base's missiles to self-destruct. Soon your ashes will be falling like snowflakes. In the meantime, an old friend would like to entertain you. Nigel was most unhappy that you eliminated his double. He would like to return the favor.
So it's the final boss fight of the game, and it isn't with Malbrave, but with the real Nitro Block. When I was younger, this was quite the final fight, and I remember being stuck on it for some time. Block has a rocket launcher with endless ammo, and he keeps flying around the place on his damn jetpack. Also, I don't know why, but for some reason at times when I get to this bit, the music doesn't work, which certainly makes the fight a lot less dramatic. I mean, let's have a look, let's compare, shall we? It's not the same, is it? I mean, usually you do have the Bond theme blowing away, so it's all good. Does anyone else have this problem other than me? Anyway, after taking so much health off Block, he flees and you follow, and you end up in the room that you started called Reception in. And from this point, it's all going to shit, but it just takes one shot.
10, 9, 8.
Help, James?
And that's it! We then get a video showing you how to attain every Bond move in the game, so have pen and paper at the ready, folks, because there ain't no way to rewind or pause or watch this damn thing again without doing that final level. So, that ending. I go back to my comments from the beginning of this review. It's a shame it's not more cinematic. The way Malbrave just kinda runs in from the side is really stupid and feels like a complete afterthought. It's as if they made the scene without her and then were like, oh shit, wait a minute, she's the main villain and she's still alive, we need to make it clear that she's dead, but oh shucks, we don't have any time or money left. Indeed, a version exists of the scene without Malbrave even in it. It would have been cool just to give her a little moment or even just a quick cutaway. Something, anything. Also, it's disappointing we don't have any kind of coda. It's just, yup, mission's over, so long. When really we should have at least a scene of Bond getting jiggy with Zoe while M calls to congratulate or something like that. But I am nitpicking here. It's a cool last level and a very cool final fight. Agent Under Fire, like many first-person shooters, also comes with a multiplayer, and while it doesn't exactly rival GoldenEye, it's still pretty darn amazing, and I love the amount of effort that was put into this feature. I really enjoy the lack of vanity that comes with the multiplayer in this game, like all the modifiers, you can practically grapple anywhere, the jetpack, you can turn off gravity, you can speed up, you can slow down, it's so cool, and I admire the lack of vanity in it as well when it comes to, like, there's a bit on the town level where you can like grapple up onto this building and look over the edge and it's just like nothing, it's an abyss, and it makes it almost as if there's just this floating town in the middle of nowhere. And I feel like a lot of other games would have tried to cover that up with some I don't know, some scenery or something, but I kind of like that this game didn't feel the need to do that. It's very open in that sense. This is the bit that I'm referring to, and yeah, you just wouldn't see this kind of thing in a game nowadays, I don't think, but I kind of like it. You can really go anywhere with this grapple. It's fantastic, and a feature that I sorely miss from other Bond multiplayers. The game modes are varied, and the multiplayer levels themselves are largely unique creations, which is fabulous. My favourite level is the town, but I also love the Abbey and the Blue Sector, and even the multiplayer levels contain Easter eggs, like this signpost in the town, which gives directions to other multiplayer levels. I love these little touches, they really give the game a bit of personality. The multiplayer even has some of its own unique weapons, including this bizarre creation known as the plasma cannon. In a Bond film, such a weapon would be dismissed as sci-fi nonsense, but in a game, it's a lot of fun. Now, a feature that I feel is sorely missing from modern first-person shooters. Bots. Agent Under Fire, well, for GameCube at least, is playable with bots depending on how many actual people are playing, which I really like, and I absolutely hate it when in a multiplayer, you know, there's multiplayer as an option, but you can't play with bots. I mean, I will rant more about this in future reviews, but here I'll just say that the AI of the bots is not super duper, but it's okay, and they can be bloody aggressive at times. My only other real complaint about the multiplayer is that, well, if you took away the Bond character, took away some of the Bond music, you have very, very little to identify it as a Bond multiplayer, really. I mean, future games fix this by adding in classic characters and settings like Atlantis and Fort Knox and whatnot, so I guess the game makers learn from this mistake, but still, the multiplayer here is a fine and worthy extra to the main game. So, Agent Under Fire, if you haven't guessed already, I'm really very fond of this game, and I think it's a really great game. But is it a great Bond game? Does it have all the Bond elements? Does it make you feel like you are James Bond? Well, yes and no, basically. It's undoubtable that all the elements are here, I just don't think they gel together 100% right. Like, let's take the girls, for example. There are plenty of attractive women in this adventure, but Bond only gets with one of them, and it's not like he didn't have other opportunities throughout the game. I think the main villain is kinda weak. Malprave looks cool, sounds cool, she's a menacing figure, but she's in like 2 scenes. She gets a blink and you miss it death. She feels like something of an afterthought. It would have made more sense to just have Nitro Block as the main villain of the game, to be honest. However, other elements are handled fabulously. Gadgets, for example. This is exactly how gadgets should be used in a Bond game. They're super cool, and the use of these gadgets doesn't get repetitive or annoying at all. I think this game is perhaps the best example of how to work gadgets into a Bond game. Same with the cars element, actually. This game handles the driving levels perfectly, and the fact that the Lotus Esprit makes it into the game as an unlockable feature shows that the game makers know how to please Bond fans. So it's kind of weird that some of the other elements don't gel especially well, and there are plenty of missed opportunities, don't get me wrong. It has always annoyed me that when you die in the game, you don't have the red blood dripping down the screen like you do in almost every single other Bond game ever. They certainly don't miss an opportunity to make the music Bondian, though. Hardly 2 minutes go by without hearing a da-da-da-da! But even the non-Bond theme music is pretty great and fitting. I'm not sure if part of my disconnect comes from how not a single actor from the main series is in this game, or voice or likeness, and that's probably something people take for granted these days. Like, you know that you're always going to have Judi Dench badgering away in your ear as you play through a mission, but here we have some other woman, and Bond and R don't look anything like their film counterparts, and it's not a big problem for me. I just think it's an element that holds the game back from being the Bond game to end them all. So, story. Cloning might be a bit, or incredibly, far-fetched for a Bond film, but in a Bond video game, and for where the Bond films were in 2001, I think it's a pretty fitting story, and they could have gone more sci-fi with it, but they didn't, so I think there was definitely some restraint with the subject matter. Video games are always going to have an extra bit of license when it comes to exaggeration anyway, and I think the cloning story here is completely fine. Now, I have a theory, and I'm interested to see if anyone agrees with me on this. While Bond games often have their own stories and characters, they're always going to somewhat resemble the film they are immediately preceding or succeeding. This is something that I think comes very apparent when we get to Daniel Craig's video games, but in Agent Under Fire's case, I really get a strong whiff of The World Is Not Enough from this game. I mean, you know, it's things like the main villain being a female head of a large corporation, and her main henchman is a bald guy who Bond does battle with. There's R there instead of Q, there's the BMW Z8, the music evokes The World Is Not Enough in some places, there are submarines present, Christmas and Zoe have some similarities, both look like bimbos with huge racks, but are presented as very intelligent women who can drive planes and pipeline car thingies. I know that a lot of these are probably just circumstantial, but in future games especially, I think this theory is very much relevant, and I'll probably go into it more in the future game. 007 Agent Under Fire is a game that, from what I gather on YouTube and Facebook comments, is a game that many Bond fans are especially fond of. I don't know if many people consider it their favourite, but it's certainly held in high regard, and rightfully so. It's a fine game and one that has aged very, very well. Heck, I'd opt to play this over the vast majority of Craig-era Bond games. Agent Under Fire was fairly well received by reviewers, but sold incredibly well, paving the way for, arguably, one of, if not the best Bond video game of them all, which we will be reviewing sometime in the near future. James Bond 007 Nightfire.